Howdy, y'all. How many shows have I done? And I forgot how. It's not that hard. What's the next part of this? Welcome to Rollin with the Punches. Let's just try that again. We're just gonna all pretend like that didn't happen. Okay, ready? Howdy, y'all. Welcome to Rollin with the Punches. I'm Jessie Punch. Wow, I'm shocked I even remembered my name, but I'm so happy you're here. I heard the wildest story this week, and I have to share it with you. You may have heard it already, but if you haven't, I have to share. Justin Bonsignor, if you don't follow the Modifieds, he is a 4-time NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion, and him and his wife. Oh, my co-host is already out. If you aren't watching on YouTube, just know that my co-host, Essopup, has already decided less than 60 seconds into this episode that he's going to call it a day. That's fine. Anyways, back to my really exciting story. That was incredibly rude. Justin Bonsignor, he's a stud on the Modified Tour. Him and his wife had their second son last month. Congrats to them. But what's even more worth congratulating is the fact that she had this baby in the parking lot of a McDonald's, and Justin was the one that helped her deliver the baby. Like, you cannot make this shit up. It happened so fast. I talked to him about it. I'm talking about it like I was there. I was for sure not there. The only reason I have these details is because I talked to him about it this week on NASCAR Daily, and he told me every detail from start to finish. It was an insane story, and for me to try to tell you myself wouldn't do it justice. So just go check out the interview for yourself. This isn't even like a self promo thing. This is just a like, holy shit, this story's wild, you need to hear it for yourself kind of thing. So check it out. It's on NASCAR's YouTube page. Stellar interview, if I do say so myself. Anyways, but don't go before you listen to this interview, because this is also an incredibly stellar interview, if I do say so myself. Karsyn Elledge, you are probably familiar with Karsyn. She is one of the few but mighty people that run the Cars Tour. She has an incredibly important role over there on the tour. She helps out with sponsorship and sales, everything really, from that down to t-shirt sales and merchandise. She talks all about it in the interview. She's also one of the hosts on Door Bumper Clear, Dirty Mo's podcast, Door Bumper Clear. She's been in the sport forever, though. She's the daughter of Kelly Earnhardt Miller, so she has a very interesting perspective on what it's like to not only work in the sport and do the jobs that she does today, but to have grown up in it with the last name of Miller and being associated with the Earnhardts. It's an incredible interview. I really was so grateful to have Karsyn here, because I feel like you get to see in her in just a completely different light. I mean, she even says it herself at one point that she's never really opened up like this in an interview, in any capacity like this, which was really kind and refreshing to hear. So I'm excited for you guys to get to know Karsyn. It was one of those conversations that just made me feel really good when we finished up. So I hope that resonates and translates with you guys. But like I said, we talk about everything from her growing up in the sport, what she does now. We talk about therapy, one of my favorite topics, as we all know. Not to mention she's really funny. So, and we all know I'm obviously really funny. So get ready to crack up. Okay. I'm gonna shut up and let you guys listen to the interview now. So without further ado, get to know Karsyn Elledge. Out of curiosity, do you have a nickname?
A nickname? I don't.
Really?
And I, like, when I was growing up racing, I wanted one, but like there was just nothing that ever flowed with my name, and I guess I really didn't do anything worth like putting a nickname on. So no,
a certain
no, like my brother's the Thriller because it rhymes with Miller,
Right.
and like, yeah, I never got one.
That's kind of what got me wondering, was because, well, one, racing is such a like nickname sport, you know, everyone
Yeah.
seems to have like some tagline or something. And then I had noticed where your brother this weekend, running this weekend, all the media call him Thriller and
Yeah.
everything, and then just your family in general. I was like, I wonder. That's so funny.
Yeah, there was nothing that ever got tagged on me, unfortunately.
Do you have one in mind? This is your chance. If you ever wanted to like create a nickname for yourself, we could start it right now.
You know, I've thought about it, like, and especially when I was younger racing, like I was trying to give myself one because I wanted one, but like I said, I just don't think anything like
worked.
goes with my name or my last name or any I can't think of any, like, spark of a moment that, like, you could tag something onto. I'm gonna have to think about that.
We'll think on it.
Well,
We'll come up with
maybe
something,
it'll
like,
come to
super
us by the end
badass.
of
Yeah.
throughout the conversation.
Right now, your nickname is Boss. Now that you have, like, taken over Cars Tour,
Gosh.
like, you are Boss Ass Bitch is your nickname.
It's
Sorry, Mom.
happened overnight. It's really, like, I think back that I started doing this a year ago, and I was just social media digital content manager, and within 4 months probably of 2024 season, like, I was already way beyond that, and, like, it's a product of the series being so small, right? Like, it's kind of always a all hands on deck kinda thing, but I I almost feel like a year ago was, like, 5 years ago because of the amount of stuff that's been packed into
I
one
bet.
year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's like and 2, I'm right around the corner from my mom 24/7, so, like, I have so many great resources to learn from, but it's I will say this off season about killed me, but we made it.
What are
So I am the partnerships and marketing manager,
Okay.
and then kind of just, like, day-to-day business operations development kinda stuff.
Got it.
It's still just Kip and I right now, and he's our, executive director and, really spearheads, like, a lot of the competition side of things, but when it comes to just our daily and partners and, all that stuff, that's kinda what's on my plate right now.
That's a big plate.
It is. It's been like a Golden Corral size plate, I would say.
Okay. It's just like an ever-flowing buffet, like,
For real.
never-ending type deal.
Like, I get
Yeah.
done with it, and it's like, "Oh, ice cream machine." I'm like, "Lord." But, I mean, it's been fun. It's been cool. Like I say, the knowledge that I've gained from it all has been really nice to learn and cool because I mean, a year ago, I was not even as self-confident as I am right now. So, like, what it's done for me in a knowledge sense and, like, racing and just opening up my network to so many different things, it's been even better just on a personal growth level. Like, as a human and all of the challenges and things that go on, what it's done for me personally has probably been way cooler than anything I'll probably learn.
Well, to that point, not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but I mean, you've always had a place in this sport, just given your family and growing up in it. But where did you want that to necessarily be? I mean, your place you knew was here, but what
Right.
niche, what role did you want to play?
I will say I really didn't know what that was or even it didn't really even begin to take shape for me in a serious sense until 2023. And I started my own content creation company, social media management, and that's when I was super introduced to the Cars Tour. But even backing it up further than that, I always said, like, I'll never work at Junior Motorsports. I won't work for my mom. Like, I want to do something outside of the family. Um, and not for any like negative reason or anything.
Sure.
It just, I was so hell bent on my own thing and not realizing that I could do my own thing and make my own path within it. So, I lived in Indiana for a couple of years, going to school and racing midgets there. And when I quickly realized that I was going to need something a little more sustainable for my long term, that's when I kind of came back to North Carolina, got into 38 Creative, which was my business that I had. And then I kind of realized that I fell in love with the business side of stuff. And like I said, within the last year of Cars Tour stuff has been the most I've really been into it. And I started on the creative side of things and quickly was like, actually, I like this a whole lot more. And I never saw myself going that way. And looking back, I think it's just because I didn't trust myself or wasn't confident enough to think that I could do it. And so taking the leap to start the stuff with the tour last year was, like I said, the best thing I could have ever done for myself personally.
And it's really because you were almost thrown into it that you were able to embrace that. Because do you think you would have had this, well, one, embracing of this job if you weren't in the means with which you had to take it on, but also two, this kind of personal growth if
Yeah.
it didn't happen the way that it did?
Yeah, and honestly too, when coming off of 2023, my business was doing super well and I was having fun, like doing it all on my own. And I was super proud of myself because I'm like, oh, look, I did this all by myself. Looking back, I really had no clue. Like that was the tip of the iceberg, right? And I didn't want to come on board with the car store at the beginning of 2024. Like my mom had brought it up and they had a need for to elevate their social and digital content because it's just not something that they've had before. And I didn't wanna do it. I was like, I like working for myself. I like the freedom. And I did it, and I'm glad I did because I quickly learned that I am somebody that thrives on structure. And like I said, it's a small team, so it's always an all hands on deck sort of thing. So I don't think that I could have gotten the wealth of knowledge that I've gotten in the last year in any other scenario.
That's it's similar to what I tell people when they ask about like getting into the sport, whether it's in broadcasting or if it's like even driving, whatever it is. It's like take every opportunity you can get and do every job you can get because even the jobs, the ones that feel like they are the biggest load, the heaviest load to carry, you're doing so much more than you feel like you should be doing. Those are the ones where you get the most value. Like you are learning so much. It's the internships where you're like having to haul all your own equipment,
Yes.
to then like be on camera. Like that's what I can equate it to. And when I think about you and being in this role too, I mean, I've seen video of you run the merchandise trailer, like
Yeah.
being there, opening the trailer, sorting through the t-shirts, and then also now turning around and making such major decisions for the series. It's got to be a lot, but it's also got to be really rewarding to have had that experience and then now be in the position that you're in.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of something you say, like, opening yourself up to all kinds of different opportunities. Like, the reason that I am able to manage our merchandise is because I had a merchandise or a clothing company back in 2021. Like, all these random things by not going I've made it through, like, a year of college, I think, by just doing things and work experience and just the people that I'm so thankful for all of the people that had taken a chance to let me try and do things because contrary to popular belief, I did not work for my family until last year. So it really has been a lot of me just putting myself in uncomfortable situations and trying stuff. And so it is weird to think about, though, right? Like one minute I'm in the t-shirt trailer sweating and counting t-shirts, and the next I'm talking to corporate people. It's funny, but like you said, it's so helpful. And at my age, there what's to come is, you have no idea. And
Mhm.
I'm glad to have the amount of experience that I've been able to at such a young age.
I think it's really important with what you just noted too about not having worked for your family, and on top of that, kind of this what's the word I'm looking for? This not wanting to, I don't know what this opposition to, I guess
Yeah.
I should say, wanting to be a part of the family business. Because I have to imagine just growing up in the means with which you did and being under the Earnhardt umbrella, if you will, in this sport had to be a really difficult dynamic of kind of balancing the respect and the history that your family brings, but also I'm my own person and I
Right.
want to do my own thing. How do you balance that? Do you still find that to be difficult?
So I will say within the last couple of years, I've gotten a lot better with, I get the nepo baby and all that junk
Can
on Twitter.
relate. It's yeah. Same.
And it's kind of one of those things where nobody's ever going to know what I really have going on, what kind of person I truly am, and the people that are around me know that. So that's the most important thing. But I look back and I think my opposition to not wanting to work for the family or work at Junior Motorsports, it was really also just the stubbornness that I get from my family also, right? Um,
I love that self-awareness because really that's so true.
I've become way too self-aware, I think, in the last few years.
No
But
such thing. No such
well,
thing.
you say that. My therapist might say otherwise. But no, I mean, I wouldn't it's less of a balance now, I would say, because I've really just come to embrace it in a way that's not I don't know. I think really more than anything, it's just me growing up and like me learning my tools and like what works for me and what makes me feel good. And I think also not wanting to work for the family thing was kind of a an external validation slash people pleaser kind of thing because I I didn't want that label put on me of like that I got this because of my family or that I got this job because of my family. But then I quickly realized that's inevitable. So yeah, it's like I said, it's been one of the best decisions, honestly, and I thought it would be difficult to work with family and, um, that it might be awkward or weird at times and hard to separate, but luckily, they've all been doing it for twice as long as I've been alive, so they've got all the tools in their toolkit that make it a little easier for me too.
It's like that stubbornness comes back around and you have to be like, "Oh, okay, wait. So you guys are as successful as you are for a reason. Like, I
Right.
guess you do know a thing or two about what you're doing over here.
Yeah.
I get it.
I
Yeah.
think I was just too prideful, honestly, to admit it. You know, I'm like, I'm gonna go be a race car driver. I'm gonna do all this, and I think eventually I was able to find a balance of like, I can want to do my own thing. I can still hold space and appreciation for our family and everything that they've done. And then, like I said earlier, I've shown myself in the last year that like I can be under this umbrella, but in my own way.
Yeah. That's so fair. It's like you wanted the opportunity to choose it for yourself.
That's honestly, yes, that's exactly right. That's
Mhm.
the best way to put it.
Yeah, I absolutely get that. That makes so much sense to me. And I'm sure now, I asked the question about balancing it. I'm sure really now it's not even much of a conversation because you have found your place in this sport and you have been here
It's
for
a
long enough
conversation
now.
for everyone else,
Yeah.
but for me
Yes.
personally, like I just feel so much more secure in it than ever before.
And everybody knows you. And going back to the Nepo baby conversation, I say I can relate. I can relate, but I also can't imagine because I feel as though you probably have it even on a much larger scale, given just the Earnhardt name. But it's like I tell everybody, I'm like, okay, what does that do for anything? Like, sure, you could say having the connections you have got me in that room, but I had to work my ass off to stay in that room.
Exactly.
Or half the time you get in that room and then everybody goes, okay, so what do you have to offer then? It's like I almost have more expectation. You know?
You're exactly right. Like they expect more out of you. But like perfect example, I'm a descendant of Kelly Earnhardt Miller, like one of the most badass businesswomen that there is. So in my mind, if I walk into a boardroom or whatever it might be, they're looking at me like this is Kelly's daughter, like she better have it together or she should have it together. And like I said too, it's one of those things where yes, was it easier for me to get certain sponsors that I had in racing because of the contacts? Absolutely. Was it a little bit simpler to get my foot in the door to have the job that I have now? Absolutely. But like you said, I work my ass off every day to stay there. Nobody inside of that building, family or not, would still have a job there did they not if they didn't do their job well. So and I mean that's kind of what I always go back to when I have to read that stuff or whatever, besides letting it just roll off because it is what it is. But that's what I always have to remind myself, like I'm here because I should be, and I'm here because I'm doing a good job at what I do. Because otherwise they wouldn't keep me around. They don't discriminate. They don't discriminate around there. So yeah, it's one of those things where it used to tear me up when I was younger, especially when I was racing. But now, just through therapy and all the things, it's whatever.
So you mentioning, it kind of tearing you up being younger. What was that like growing up being that sounds like such a ridiculous question. What's it like growing up being an Earnhardt? I realize it like as it came out of my mouth, but for you as a female and not really like wanting to do that initial like follow in my family footsteps, did you struggle with that in school? How do you describe that growing up?
I think the hardest part when I was younger was not realizing the people that wanted to be around me or be my friend or involved with me because of my family. And I mean, it even still happens now, but I would say that would be the biggest thing when I was younger is not realizing that. And being in shitty situations because of it and having bad people around me because of it. And then to just wanting friends and wanting to have people around and sacrificing that half of it to have company or whatever it might have been. And I didn't know that that's what was happening at the time, but obviously now, as you kind of go back and process all of that, you realize it. But um, also, I think it was just I don't know if I love racing. I still do like to race. I get to occasionally at Millbridge, but I don't know. I think I was always just trying to do it and trying to put myself in that box because of I thought that's what was expected of me. And I always say too that everyone around me and my family has all these great achievements and did all these great things. And so I always thought that for me to be great and good and for people to want to pay attention to me and love me or be my friend that I had to do this big crazy amazing thing. So I think that's probably initially what drove me wanting to drive race cars. Um, and what was a big struggle was I wasn't in my true identity, I don't think. And it's something that I loved and it was a hobby that I enjoyed, but it was never something that I should have tried to make a career out of. I do regret some of the time I feel like I wasted. Not wasted, but I should have taken college more seriously, and I probably would have had I not been trying to chase around midget racing in Indiana and all of that stuff. But you know, those were probably the two biggest struggles, is just not really knowing my identity or what I wanted my direction to be until really the last 4 or 5 years, honestly.
But it's really because you were able to have so many different experiences like that that you can then be so sure of
Yeah.
finding that
That's the other
identity.
half of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's why I don't wanna call it, like, a waste of time.
Right.
But there's things that I, probably could have done different or wish I might have would have done different, and, I can't you only know what you know at the time,
Of
and,
course.
but looking back now, I'm glad for it all, because obviously I wouldn't know the things I know and be in the position that I'm in.
Hmm. Well, and going back to the carrying the Earnhardt name, I bring that up for a specific reason. That it's not just to sit here and talk about, your family and your history, but it's because, so in someone like me who works in the media and has known you and watches you and sees your things, something I've always really admired about you is your ability to, everything we just said, be so well respected in this industry, be so respectful of your family and the weight that you carry in this racing world, but also your ability to be so unapologetically you is so admirable to me, like, truly. And that is what draws so many people to you too, is the fact that you're like, I'm gonna tell you how I feel, get the fork over it, like like, I have an opinion on that, is it my turn to say it,
Yeah.
and I love that, because I'm over here like, I have an opinion, hang on, let me think on it, wait, I don't know, should I might have to see this person, I don't know, never mind, the conversation's
I'm always like,
past.
"Give me a mic, I'll say it again."
See, and that's where I'm the one that's like on the other end of the phone, like, did you guys see what Karsyn said about this? Like, hell yeah. But I love that. And I really think, like, your ability to balance the two of those things is so admirable. You do a great job.
Thank you. And that's been one of the things that I would say would be a struggle in the family name too, is like, in high school, I couldn't necessarily do all the things that my other friends were doing, because if I got caught or I was doing something bad, that's not just a direct reflection of me. That's a reflection of my whole family. So like, looking back, I mean, in the moment I was mad, right? I'm like, can't go to parties, can't, do all this stuff. Why am I getting in trouble for this? And now I'm like, thank God. Like, I'm so glad. And my mom, if you're watching this, you were right. But I would say that's another thing, was just never really being able to do anything under the radar, whether I was racing or trying to hang out and be a degenerate with my friends. Like, I couldn't just go run Hickory local on a weekend and no one know about it, or be able to get my feet wet in any kind of anything and not have a million people talking about it or discussing it, which in turn made me kind of have to just be like, screw it.
Yeah.
I don't care what y'all think. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. And like I said multiple times already, that's really something that I feel like I've come into more within the last couple of years.
I can't even imagine trying to balance all that, because to your point, like, the preconceived notions that you come in with that you didn't even set for yourself,
Yeah.
can
That's a
set
great
the
way
bar really high.
That's a great way to put it, of like putting myself in that box of like, oh, I should go be a race car driver. Oh, I need to do and have all these big achievements. Like, I from the old enough to remember, I would say 12, when I started doing the pit walks with Fox and the random stuff like that and racing. Like, I didn't really have a choice in, I mean, obviously I have a choice in what happens to me and the decisions that I make, but
Of course.
there was already a box on me. There was already preconceived notions. There was already, she should obviously be a badass race car driver because of her family. She should be good at business because of her mother. And so that, I think that's probably what was toughest to navigate, and still can be, and maybe also too why I didn't want to work for the family, or wanted to try to blaze my own trail, because of all this noise around me. I thought that I had to prove something wrong instead of just being able to make the decisions for myself and do what I wanted no matter what was going on.
And to your point too about kind of coming more into yourself and in tune with your thinking here in the past couple years, I have to believe that you had to. Everybody else can look at you and say like, "Oh, she's going to be a badass businesswoman, or she's going to be this, or whatever." But like, that doesn't matter unless you believe that about yourself.
Exactly.
So it wasn't until you were able to get to a place where you're like, you know what? Yeah, I
Yeah.
can run this and work in the family business and have my own place and blaze my own trail and be successful. Like, you guys were right. It wasn't never going to work if y'all were telling me. I needed to find it for myself too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like me not wanting to work for the car store at first was a prime example of that, because I would say 75% of the reason that I didn't want to do it was because I didn't think I was capable. Because I had never really had a normal job per se. It was always traveling for racing, or with the t-shirt stuff, I was traveling with that. And I hadn't ever had a sit down 9 to 5 or really much accountability, to be honest with you, in a workplace or work environment. So after a year of working for myself, I'm like, I don't want to do this because I don't think I'm going to be good at it. Or like, what happens if they take a chance on hiring me and I suck at it, or I fail, or I mess something up. And um, really, it's just been a lot of I just have had to put myself in those spots and do it. And just once I show myself one time that it's fine, then it's all fine. Like it's been cool. It's been really crazy.
That has to be the most rewarding situation. And to think I've been to the race. That's why I say we. I'm not on the Cars tour.
I want you back though. If you
love-
can come pit report some this year,
would love it.
Stamp of approval from me.
If James ever has a commitment or heaven forbid gets sick, call your girl James. I will do your microphone well for a weekend. But no, you're only you're a weekend in. I mean, think about like how much even in the next few months you're going to look back on now and be like, oh, look at what I've learned, look at what I've been able to accomplish. It's coming so naturally to you. It's got to be an exciting feeling to know that you have this path kind of set for you now to be able to chase this goal.
Yeah, and it's nice that it's not the same as if I were to come into junior motorsports, right, and get a job on one of their PR reps or something like that. This is literally, the car store is literally the perfect learning ground for that, because I can have the level of responsibility that I have, but it's not to say like it's not as important or not as serious, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's
for sure. You have
it's a more chill environment to learn these things. And I'm not dealing with Fortune 500 companies as partners, but I am dealing with really, really quality. I mean, we got Cookout, things like that. Like, I'm dealing with these quality partners and brands, but we're in short track racing, so everyone's chill. Everybody's cool with it, and everyone's been really patient and understanding with me too while I figure it all out, which I cannot thank them enough for.
I get what you're saying. It's like the detriment of a mistake isn't quite as high at that level, but at the same time, you almost get the best of both worlds, because your mistakes don't weigh as heavily, but the rewards, the things that you do right, are huge. They bring a huge amount to the series, and they make waves overall. I mean, because of Dale and Kevin's involvement doesn't even begin to touch it, like passion for what they've poured into that series, the eyes that are on that the things that you do right really make a huge difference, not just for car store but in the racing world.
I always say, like, we're in such a unique position with the car store because, like you said, we do have the best of both worlds. We're still short track racing, they've still got the good old boys, and at the same time there are all of these really high quality and high level companies and partners that want to get involved with it. And so, yes, we still get to have the fun and we get to have the lax of short track racing. But like you said, there's so many, like the flow racing stuff that we just rolled out. I mean, they came to us at PRI and they said, hey, we want to do this external sponsorship piece. Here's the dollar amount. Karsyn, come up with a program. And I was like, are you sure you want
Wait, me?
Me?
You want me to do that?
I'm like, who?
Who?
Not me. You mean Kip? No. And so, like, stuff like that, you know, and then now we've got the Field Master Award, and it was like my brainchild, and so it's like fun stuff like that where, yeah, it's Flow Racing, right? And it's this big company, and it's these awesome people, but at the same time, there's no way I could have screwed it up, right? Like,
Right. Yeah. Well, but that also goes back to what you said before in having, it's a small operation, but it's small but mighty. Like you guys all have each other's back. You want this to succeed. You know the power that you have if you can be successful. So
yeah, that's what my mom always calls Kip and I, small but mighty. She's like, we have a small but mighty team.
It's
I'm
true.
like, 2 people is sure is small. But we make it work. We really do. And like I said, we've got great resources inside of that building too that make it a lot easier and kind of expedite the learning process.
So where does this put you then with all of the media that you do with Dirty Mo? How do you, we already established this plate is quite full. We are on the soft serve
we
portion
are
of
on
the
the
meal.
dessert bar. We're at the dessert pizza of
Now,
Golden
don't get me
Corral.
wrong, I am never opposed to then circling back after
Absolutely.
the dessert bar and you know,
Mozzarella sticks, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's
You
no
have some more
there's
mashed
no correct
potatoes.
order to the
No.
Golden Corral. What did you ask me again?
I don't know.
I
What
started
did I
thinking
ask
about
you?
food.
Yeah,
I started
same.
thinking
We're
about
clearly
food.
we're clearly hungry.
Oh, Dirty Mo Media.
Yes.
So every Monday morning after we race, from 9:30 to 11:30ish, we record downstairs at JRM. So it's nice. I can just walk right down the stairs because our car store offices are there. So yeah, every Monday it's a couple hours of my Monday where we record. And then fixing to start up a new one this summer with my friend Caitlin, which I'm super, super pumped about. That one's where I'm going to get to really turn it loose.
Okay, wait, pause. Pause. One, I was gonna say, so Caitlin Waltrip, right?
Yes.
So this is like rare breeds?
Yes, this is
Okay.
Rare Breeds. Yes.
So I want to get, that was where I was gonna say, but when you said this is when I really get to turn it loose, it made me giggle because there's more.
Like, you don't already
I'm
turn
like,
it loose
wait,
on Door Bumper Clear.
What? Who's holding you back now?
Well, see, the thing with that is I'm big on not speaking unless I'm well educated about it, right? So like I've been out of the NASCAR loop until honestly 2 years ago because I was in Indy and racing and doing my own thing, and like I've said, I was being stubborn. I don't want to be involved in
It's
that.
okay. You're living your own life for
I
a
was
little bit of time.
living my life.
We won't fault you for that. You're
Please
allowed to
don't.
do that.
I feel like I'm done with my grace period. I'm back now. I'm invested. But like on there, I don't necessarily want to like get to, and NASCAR fans they're kind of mean sometimes, man. Like they'll tear you up. And so I just never want to say anything that I can't back up with like a good fact or like something. Like I don't want to be wrong, I guess. And I don't want to fly off the handle just for the sake of being heard and being, funny if it's not something that is either A, conducive to the conversation or knowledgeable. So that's kind of where I get like in a little bit of a hole with that. Not to say that it's bad, but Rare Breeds is going to be completely nothing about racing. I mean, obviously we won't be able to avoid it, right? Because Caitlin's dad and my family. But the premise is really just going to be like living life and girlhood, and like it's nice because Caitlin is, in her 30s and has kids and a husband, and I'm 24 and single and have a dog. So like we get those different aspects of life, but then there's so many things that we'll be able to come together on. But that's where I'm going to be able to let my opinions fly about the stuff that I really know about. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Oh yeah, that makes total sense.
I'm excited.
I'm excited for that.
I feel like we've got a bet going of how many episodes in until we start getting like phone calls from our moms or our sisters being like, "Why the heck are you saying this about me?" I was like, "Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe."
That's what you should let everyone know beforehand. Fair warning, everyone.
I'm like,
no one's off limits.
And we've already told our sisters because they've already said it. They're like, well, we're not going to be there to defend ourselves if you guys start talking about us. I'm like, number one, don't flatter yourself. Okay. We might not get to talking about
Everything's
you.
about you.
Exactly. And number two, you can come on next week and hash it out if you want to after we're done.
I love that. You're like, if you want to talk, then come and talk.
If you want to share your side of the story, come sit down.
Just do it in front of the microphone.
Yes.
That's so good. That's going to be really fun.
I'm excited. I really am. It should be entertaining.
That makes sense though. And going back to what you were saying about giving your opinion on things, I'm so glad you laid it out like that, because I'm going to choose my words wisely here. I'm not directing this at anyone in particular, but I do think sometimes in our sport and in the day and age we're in and the podcasts and everything, like a lot of people just really like to talk.
Yep.
You know,
And hear themselves talk.
and hear themselves talk and just about on anything, you know, whether it pertains to them or not. It's like, oh, and I know I'm going to get your opinion on that because you love to give it on everything.
Right.
Which that's their prerogative. That's totally fine. But people listen when you talk, you know, and even if it's something that they don't necessarily like agree with, they still listen to what you have to say, and it's because of what you just laid out. This idea of not just talking to talk. Like you can have an opinion, that's fine, but does it need to be publicly shared unless you have something to back it up or a point to make, you know? And so, yes, you are opinionated and you put it out there in a way that's entertaining, but it's not just to hear yourself give those takes.
Right.
And that's why people still listen.
You don't want to back yourself into a corner either, right? Like that's, like I said, my biggest thing is just not, I don't want to say anything that anybody can't, like, I don't want to say something that you can argue for the sake of like the fact that I was wrong. Like I'm all good for a healthy debate or a healthy conversation, and everybody's entitled to their different opinions. Nobody's going to think the same on anything, but I never want to say anything where, you know, I've got to sit there and like defend a lie or like defend something that has no knowledge behind it, and so you can't further say anything about it. But you're right. It is, in this day and age especially, everyone has a podcast, everyone's got an opinion, and everyone has access to the internet.
Oh, yes. Whether they should or not.
Right? I feel like there should be like parental controls for adults somehow on
no joke.
Media, you know what I mean?
That's like the joke that people say about like how podcast equipment should be more expensive, or, you know, there should be like regulations around who can buy podcast equipment. I feel that way sometimes. Yeah. But then there's probably people that feel that way about me. So like I won't throw too much shade anywhere. That's totally fine. But it is interesting though, because like when I think about people, certain people in this industry, there are certain things that I would love to hear their opinion on, but I don't listen to them anymore because they talk about everything that it's like they've lost the value in bringing an opinion to the table.
100%. 100%. That's a perfect way to put it, of like it ends up losing value because you just spew about everything or talk about everything. It's like the quietest people, and I'm not quiet by any means, and I'm not saying this about myself, but like, you know, when you're like in a group of friends and like the quietest person every once in a while will just come off with a zinger of a joke or something. It's like, oh, that's kind of the same thing. You're like, those are the ones that when they talk, it's always funny or it's always knowledgeable.
But that's how I feel about you, and that's what is fun. It's because you do bring a very like entertaining, opinionated element to DBC, but you have something to say. Like I listen. If you get fired up about something, I'm like, okay, then this is good. Like this, I should listen to this. You know,
there's a segment now that we've kind of like started to roll into, and it's what's got Karsyn fired up. And it's not something I have to do every week unless something does have me fired up. But so if you ever think of anything or you see something and have suggestions for me, I need some shit to be fired up about.
I got you. I can help you there.
I mean, there's always, but that's the thing too, is there is always something that has me irritated, but it's not always things that I can say publicly.
So true. Or you're like, I could never tell people that this is pissing me off as much as it is, because it really shouldn't.
The other day, what has really had me jacked up lately is, and it's so dumb because, again, why are we beefing with people on Facebook? And like, you know, everyone's got an opinion and race fans like to say what they like to say. But like, I'm telling you what, I can read stuff about myself. I can read stuff about, you know, my racing, my whatever. But my little brother, I have been beefing with people on Facebook all week because I'm sick of it. I'm so protective over him, obviously. But like, I can't say that because it's like, you know, so minuscule in the grand scheme of things. But I'm like going to war for Wyatt on Facebook right now.
I don't blame you. I would be.
I'm like, he's 13 years old. Leave him alone.
That's what I was going to say. Like, who are you on Facebook, like, having stuff to say about my little brother, my child?
Imagine sitting down. Say you get off a long day where you sit down on your couch and you're, like, scrolling and you see this very impressive ending of a race where could have absolutely dumped the guy, right? Like, he had every opportunity to do that in the last 2 laps. And obviously nobody knows what's going on in there inside of except Wyatt. But, like, imagine being 40-something years old and you sit down in your recliner after a long day and you're like, "This little punk kid," like, literally typing on Facebook calling a child a punk, like, I'm like, I feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
But then it gets me wound up.
I
I'm
don't
like,
blame
"Don't you
you.
talk about my little angel baby like that." Like, that's my he's 13 and he's taller than me and he won't give me a hug, but don't talk about him like that.
He won't acknowledge my presence,
He's
but I will
he's
go to war for him.
too cool for me right now, but
It's all right. That'll come back around.
I hope so.
You're so right, though. People on Facebook, especially like the Cars Tour, the short track, the regional world, they love their Facebook.
Though, and that's that's one of the harder parts for me is not firing back to people on the Cars Tour Facebook page.
Oh, I can't
because
imagine.
I just want to be like, where do you get off? Like, where do you get this? And I can't. I can't. I have to.
Well, to that point, that was kind of where I was getting at in this whole converse or question anyways, was like, do you have to find that balance now? Like, do you find that you have to censor yourself more, or how does that work, knowing that you have a business side of, things, and you have sponsor,
Yeah.
what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
I know, like, in my mind, I know what you're trying to
you
say.
know what I'm
but,
trying to
like,
say?
yeah.
Like, you're kind of walking this balance of like businesswoman and then also like entertainer.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing about it is just knowing when is the time to engage and when it's not. Because there's one thing I will never be able to get rid of about myself, and it is my love for justice. Okay, like I, I just have to pick and choose my battles, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but then there's days where. I'll have 2 glasses of wine and I'm scrolling on Twitter and somebody says something. I'm like, you know what? Today's the day. Now's the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, more than anything, it's just like choosing when to engage and when to not. Because at the end of the day, like I want to respect my job and my family and the partners and the people that we're involved with. But then also there's that part that's like kind of goes back to the who cares? Like I'm gonna say I am who I am. I
Mhm.
say this is what I think about it, and I really don't feel like if you want to fault me for that, then so be it. That's your problem, not mine. But obviously, I don't want to screw anything up for family or business. But I really don't feel like I would have to do something really, really awful or say something really, really awful for that to happen. So I really don't think that anyone in my circle or in our partner circle or work circle would hold most things I would say against me in
No.
that case scenario.
And it all goes back to like, you're not just spewing shit to spew shit. Like,
Right.
you're allowed to have an opinion on the sport. You're allowed to have an opinion on storylines and what happened on the racetrack, just like anybody else is.
Yeah. It's not like I'm getting on Twitter replying to people and being like, you fat SOB, like
Yeah.
saying really mean stuff. Like, I'm not mean. If I respond, I make sure that I've got my things to back it up and that I sound way more intelligent than the person that wrote the first message.
If anything, it goes back to like how I kind of brought this up to begin with, is that I think it's admirable. Like, this ability to be a businesswoman and sit down in meetings and carry yourself the way you do and have the responsibility that you do, but then also be in front of a camera and talk so openly. I think anybody that's smart and gets the overall picture would find that admirable, because they know then like you are, again, unapologetically you. Like the Karsyn that we're getting at all times is just Karsyn. That's
You know
who
where you
she
stand.
is.
Yeah. And you say like the transparency, that's one of the big reasons that Rare Breeds came to be, was because, I like minimal backstory, like spark noting the last, I would say from probably about 19 to 22. That it was a just rough stretch for me. Like no identity, didn't really know what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be, partying a lot, thought I wanted to go be a race car driver, was just didn't think that anything my parents were telling me or anyone of influence, they were right. I'm like, whatever. Like I know what I'm doing. I'm going to make my own path. I'm going to be fine. And then two, you take the family element of, I've said in a box, whether I put myself in that box or the surroundings put myself in that box. And then all the things that you hear about yourself and the things you hear about your family and the things you read. And, over the last 2 or 3 years, as I've come more into my confidence and just, it's no secret. Like I'm not shy about the fact that I go to therapy and I have been in therapy since I was 13. Like that has been, I went to Mike Davis and I was like, I'm just like really ready to be in my transparency era. Like,
Mhm.
there's all this misconception about the way I've grown up and, what I've had handed to me or what I haven't. And so that was really how Rare Breeds came to be, was because I'm like, I want a platform to be transparent. I can only do so much with social media and the things that are going on in the world now. And not that I'm going to get on there and be able to convince anyone otherwise, right? Like, if your opinion's your opinion about me, that's fine. That's really not, it's not for you. It's for me. And it's for me to have a place to sit down and say whatever the hell I want to say. And, if you listen to a story and realize that you had it all wrong, great. But if not, peace out,
Yeah. At the end of the day, this isn't your attempt at getting people to like you. It's
Right.
just a platform for you to just give people to give people a chance to get to know you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And not through the lens of, because I have to imagine, so much of what you've done so far, and I know for a fact so much of what you've done so far is through a specific lens. It's like, let's hear from Karsyn on behalf of this, or on behalf of that. Now this is just your chance to just be you with a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so fun.
Yeah, I'm either, speaking on behalf of the car store or on behalf of, Door Bumper Clear or whatever it might be. And when I'm racing, as race car driver Karsyn, like, it's always been some form of race car driver Karsyn, t-shirt sales Karsyn, girlfriend following her boyfriend around racing in Indiana Karsyn. Like, I've literally never been in my whole own thing. And so that's why I'm super excited about that, is to just be.
So when does this start?
It's supposed to start, we don't have a month or date yet, but we've given it a rough summer 2025.
Okay, cool. So here in the next couple months then.
Yeah. I kept telling Mike, I'm like, I'm ready to get going now. Like,
You're like, I got stuff to
I'm
say.
like, I got things to say. Stuff's going on.
No,
Not to
that's
call
new.
you if I have questions and need advice. I've never
Call me.
done it
I don't
before.
know.
What do you mean? We got the works in here.
You call me, I'm gonna be on Google. Like, yeah, hang on 1 second.
Yeah, hold on, AI, ChatGPT.
Yeah. So it's that like TikTok trend where it's like, do you mind if I just like listen to something? It's like how to podcast, or and you're like,
Got the earpiece.
yeah, like that's literally how I feel sometimes. How to be a paraporter. I'm like, 1 sec, hang on.
That's me. I'm like, over this off season, I had no idea. As of like November, going into the off season, I'm still thinking my job is what I've been doing for this last year. And then all of a sudden, now I've got to re-sign our partners, and if anyone needs deals renegotiated, I'm like on Google, I'm like, what's a deliverable? I'm like, oh my God, who am I? What am I doing here? The imposter syndrome is real.
That's what I was gonna say. That imposter syndrome sets in.
It's so funny. I'm like, I almost laugh at myself sometimes, like when I would come out of my mom's office after asking her for, to look over a proposal that I made, or, receivables and deliverables that I just repackaged for these And of course, this off season, over half of them, not complaining whatsoever. If you want to partner with the Cars Tour, I will repackage your deal every year. But like, of course, I'm getting tossed into this, and God and everybody wanted a rework of everything. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what is going on? And I laugh at myself because I'm like, I was making Canva graphics at the beginning of last year, and this year I'm like writing contracts. I'm like, what's going on?
That's awesome. That's really cool.
But it is funny. I'm always like, I'm on Google 24/7. I'm on Excel. I'm like, how do I merge and center a cell in Excel? I mean, 95% of my knowledge is from Google probably every single day.
That's the biggest thing I've learned as I, work more in this, and as I become more of an adult every day.
Right.
I'm looking around, I'm like, oh, so none of y'all have any idea what's going on.
Yes.
Cool.
That could not be more true. Like, my biggest misconception, I'm 24, and if you would have looked at me when I was 13 and you're like, hi, I'm 24 years old, I've been like, you're the CEO of something. Like,
Yes.
you know what's going on. And then I'm like, sometimes I go into rooms and I'm like nervous to be in there. And then I realize I'm like, I might be smarter than half of you. And I'm not that. Like, I know I have a ways to go, but like, I really found like walking into rooms and feeling like I'm the smallest in there. And then you talk to people for a little while and you're like, okay, I feel better.
Yeah.
Everyone, nobody really, like you said, nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
we're all just faking it till we make it.
yeah,
Mhm.
100%. I am looking up things, pretending like I know things, lying. Like, sure, I'll figure it out later, But I like to get like, not to get back super serious, but like how we were saying, like all those different positions that you end up putting yourself in, like really that's how you learn. You just try it and see what the heck happens.
Yeah. Well, and not to get back super, super serious, but before you even mentioned you being in therapy, I was gonna ask because I clearly have no boundaries, and I was just gonna
I
straight
love
up
to get
ask.
super, super. I would sit here and talk about therapy for hours.
Well, let's do it. I mean, I've kept you plenty today, but like come back any day because truly that is not to brag, but I actually have 2 therapists, and
Oh,
yeah, it's like no big deal. They work in tandem, and it's cute.
that's actually super nice, actually.
Yeah, it's you have to be like extra special to get that kind of treatment.
That's okay. That's okay.
No, it's I
This is
joke.
Planet Fitness, no judgment. Judgment free zone.
Look, no judge. That was funny. No lunk alarm here, girl. No, no. But to that point, like I always joke about that because I'm like it's so fine. Like talk about it. Like the more people
Yes.
can eat. I don't expect everyone to sit down and tell me their life's biggest struggles and where they hit rock bottom and how they crawled out, or if they're still crawling out, or if they need help crawling out. Like
Yeah.
I would love that conversation. I also don't expect that from anybody. But I think even at just the very smallest, for somebody to say like, "Hey, yeah, I'm in therapy."
Yeah.
Boom. I'm like, "Thank you."
You're like,
Like that was
I feel
that.
seen.
That was good.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, did we all hear that? I'm like,
Yeah.
she's really cool and she's in therapy.
I'm like, I'm really cool because I'm in therapy.
Put it on a t-shirt. Put it on the car store t-shirt.
I'm serious though. I mean, really, like I said, I started going to therapy when I was probably 13 or 14. And literally today, I saw her today, and we were talking about something and just like coming into self-confidence and like all of the ways that I'm able to navigate situations now. And I'm like, I remember you literally telling me when I was 15 years old in your office, like all of those things that we initially began talking about and things that there was no way I could have obviously seen back then or known, but like it is such a journey. Like today we spent half of my session talking about all the stuff that I came in there with as an issue of like self-confidence and being insecure and, seeking so much external validation. And I got to sit there today and say like I don't, I move so differently because these other things that are happening aren't for you or for whoever is in the room or whoever I'm in a relationship with or whoever I'm friends with. Like boundaries, I mean, everything that you do is for you. Like, and I'm like, it's just so cool to like look back at the journey of therapy and be like, wow, like she was right.
What do you know?
But then too, and just be proud of yourself and have a safe space to be proud of yourself for growing. I think that's been the biggest thing that I appreciate from it now is like, you can have conversations with your friends, right? You can have conversations with your parents and you can get that, that's great or the validation that you are doing better or handling something better than you would have in the past. But like it's hard to brag about yourself out loud without sounding a certain way. And so I think that's if I would tell somebody that doesn't go to therapy, like, what's the best thing you'll probably get out of it? I would say it's definitely that. I mean, you have a safe space to sit down and be like, I did this. I pulled myself through this. I taught myself how to love myself or learn how to do this or whatever. And you have a non-biased person sitting across from you that's like, hell yeah, girl. Yes, you did. Like, I just love it. I just went on a whole tangent about therapy, but man, I
No,
just love it.
what you just said like really struck me because you saying creating a space or being comfortable having the space to be proud of yourself. I mean, like that really hit me because what I was already getting ready to follow that up with was how freaking hard therapy is. Like it's not always sure sometimes it's easy to go in and just like
There's gossip days. There's days where I
Yes.
go in and I'm like, so this is the update on this person and this situation and that. But
because
like,
you need that.
Yeah.
Everyone needs that. But at the end of the day, to really have the personal growth that you've had or that I have had through therapy, you have to work your ass off. And it is hard. And like that is already such a I had a well, while we're sharing, I had a moment in therapy, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, where I cried happy tears for the first time with this therapist. And it was one of those things where she kind of like called me out on it. It was like,
I'm over here, I'm
she
like,
was
I'm so happy for you. Yes. I'm like,
yes.
I love that.
It was just, and I didn't even realize I was like kind of doing it. And she was like, you're getting emotional because like you're proud of yourself. And I'm not getting emotional right now. I'm telling myself I'm not. But like, it was just like having that realization was like, wow, that felt a certain way. The feeling of what you said when other people notice it in you and they say something about how differently you're handling a scenario than you would have before, or like the growth they see in you. Knowing how special those things feel is something, but then to your point, that's not why we do it. Those are reassuring things, but then it's creating that space to then say, I'm proud of myself for all of that I just did. And like, that's I need to do that.
It's just that it's comforting every day in my life to know that I have that space. Like, that's why I think it's so important for people. And it's just a non-biased space. And you don't have to sit down there and start telling them your whole life story from the jump. Like, it is such an interesting process. Like you said, it's hard work. And I mean, there's days where I, will have a session and it's really difficult and I cancel all my plans for the rest of the day. Like, I don't want to go get dinner with my friends or whatever it might have been on the schedule. Like, it literally will emotionally exhaust you. But then you get to a point, like a moment that you had and like that I was even like having today with her, like, that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
So you're like, you have no one else to thank except yourself. And that's like such a gratifying feeling.
Yeah. In those moments to like, for us to be able to sit down here and talk about life and like where we're at now in life and the accomplishments that we have, it's really neat because I know that feeling of visibly feeling a change in yourself.
Yeah.
From even just a few years ago. Yeah.
It's even crazy too. Like, sometimes I'm like, I'm different than I was 4 months ago. You know what I mean? Like, I know we're always evolving and changing, but like in that short amount of time, and just to have a space where you can look back at it and be like, whoa, I'm different than I was in October, and then be able to really like see all of the factors and like process through all of the factors that contributed to that. Like, it's just, therapy is awesome.
It is awesome. And having those moments, it's such a testament to like the hard work that you put in, and it's just a rewarding feeling. And I do want to talk more, not now, but I would love to bring you back and talk more about our feelings sometimes if you're down.
Anytime. I love to sit down and talk about, like, I think that's where the transparency part comes from too. Like, I will sit down and talk about anything and everything, because I think it's important to share your journey, whether it's good, awesome, spotlight, no spotlight. Like, everyone at the base of it all struggles with the same stuff principle wise, right? And so I think it's just, I will sit down and talk about anything and everything. We can start in 2006 if we want to. I mean,
I'm in. Let's do it.
Anytime.
See, and that's where that really was the whole point of this project altogether. And Joey, I know, hears this like quite literally every other week and is probably tired of hearing it. But the whole point of starting this was having a platform where I want to create a space for people to feel comfortable being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because most people that I have here have some sort of influence somewhere in this world. Everybody has an influence on something somewhere in this world. But by being vulnerable, like, that's where you create change in other people. Like, people might not be able to sit down and relate to somebody going 200 miles an hour or selling sponsorship or working or being an Earnhardt or having whatever it is, but they can relate on you saying like, I got to a point where I didn't even recognize myself anymore, my identity. I didn't know where I was supposed to go. Like, and now look at me. Like that, like it's finding those areas that we relate as people, but we can only do that through being vulnerable with each other.
And it's like the scariest thing to do ever.
Right?
Yeah. It's like being vulnerable is scary, but it's literally like and it's easier, I think, to live that way too, because you're not keeping up with, oh, I'm this person in front of this group of people, or I'm this person at work, and then I'm this person with my friends. Like, it's just easier and more. I mean, I think I literally, like, I think your body carries that. Like, from right now to 2 years ago, right now I look like, or 2 years ago I look like I ate 2 of me right now. And like, it's literally because I was doing nothing different with my lifestyle except being miserable. And like, that's why I've just found it's just so much easier to be open and transparent and real about stuff, because you don't have to waste your energy and time keeping up with all these different facades that you have going on. It's like, this is me, like me or don't, and me and my dog will be fine.
Mm-hmm. I can relate to you so much, and just even you talking about the physicality of it all. Same. I look at myself 2 years ago, and it's the only thing that's changed is my ability to manage my emotions and who I've surrounded myself with and the situations that I'm in. And it's all come from me getting to a place of mentally saying, okay, I'm gonna do what I need to do for me. And from there, you're right. It all regulates itself. You start to be healthy and happy. And I don't know if you recognize this either, but I feel like since I've kind of had this shift in really, I guess like coming into myself sounds like so weird, but you know what I mean when I say that. Yeah.
Like you just start to feel more aligned with what your body and your like heart truly knows that you were ignoring kind of thing.
And through that and having that understanding those feelings, my relationships with other people are so different, so much deeper.
I literally said that to my therapist today. I was like, I said, and the best part about, you know, all this, you know, processing and growth and just, you know, being more confident in myself and not apologetic for boundaries that I have to set. Like my relationships are flourishing because of it. Like I am starting to, and like I say, like back to October, I was a different person. Like my mom and I have had like some struggles since then, and like it's starting to see itself through. And like even, you know, there's a guy that I was hanging out with in October of last year, and it all went sideways or whatever. But then I ran into him, or we hung out in a group of people not long ago, and he was like, "You're an entirely different person than you even were, you know, in October." And all these people and friendships that I was ignoring or not, you know, fostering and being a good friend, like I have found that I'm becoming a better friend. I'm becoming a better person that someone would want to be in a relationship with, a better daughter, sister, like. It's crazy to see what all shakes out because of becoming just more aligned personally with yourself.
It goes back to that vulnerability. For me, at least, it was like I was only going to meet people as deeply as I was willing to open up to them.
You know what's funny is I always said that about other people. I'm like, people can only know you as deeply as they know themselves. And I'm like, why wasn't I applying that advice to myself?
Right? You're like, oh, wait. That makes sense.
Wait, Uno reverse.
Yeah, Uno reverse on that one. No, but it's so, but it's like, that's so true because it's so easy to say that, but not really like comprehend until I realized it for myself. And I was like, oh, I may have been trying, not even realizing that I wasn't opening up as deeply as I should have been, because in my mind, I was trying to like have a perfect persona or carry myself a certain way
or whatever.
Yeah. But like by not being fully transparent and open, I wasn't able to embrace you fully transparently and openly. So yes, it's just it really is so worth it to work on yourself, and as hard as it is, it's so rewarding, and we're still growing. Like that's the best part.
It's a never-ending journey.
It's like, look how great we are now. We're only getting greater.
Imagine what's to come,
right? Please.
I always say people will respect you for respecting yourself. I mean, that's really what I just remind myself every day.
Scratch the other thing. Put that on a t-shirt. That's the one. Catch it at the Cars Tour merch holler.
Sign it underneath.
There you go.
People are like, what is this? Are you guys okay?
I'll be first in line. That'll be a Rare Breeds shirt. That's more,
Yeah, Dirty Mo rolled out a merch line, so that'll be my first request for Rare Breeds merch.
They're going to say, no.
Like, actually, the point of this was for you guys to tell all the stories about when you had no self-respect. I'm like, well, times have changed.
Yeah, you're like, I'm in therapy.
I'm in therapy.
Didn't you hear?
Word on the street.
No, I love it. Thank you. Seriously, thank you for being so transparent. Thank you for being you. I genuinely mean that.
This has been fun. I've not ever done a podcast where I have been able to just speak. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
of course.
I've not sat down and talked about therapy on a podcast ever. Or to anyone really ever outside of, you know, my circle. So thank you for having a safe, comfy space and having me. This is of course a blast.
My race car sofa is open anytime.
I love this thing. It's comfortable. You might have to pull me out of it. Before
I wrap this up, I do a segment called Long Story Short.
Okay.
Because I am the queen of saying long story short, and then here's the 2-disc version of Titanic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Felt that. 100%.
So that being said, 3 questions. Feel free to make your answers as long or short as possible.
Okay.
That's all you.
I took my ADHD meds today, so we'll see which
We'll see which side we get.
Side we're teetering on.
I always love how that is. Is it going to work this way or this way today? I don't know.
Am I going to talk a million miles an hour today, or am I going to be brain dead? I don't know.
Sometimes it's like I pop it in the morning. I'm like, good luck, everybody else.
Yep. Down it with an energy drink. I'm like, I'm along for the ride.
It's me. I'm like taking anxiety meds with 200 milligrams of caffeine, calling it a day.
Not eating.
No,
I'm just a girl.
But go to therapy.
But go to therapy, guys. Yeah.
Okay. First question. When was the last time you cried?
Yesterday. Wait, no. It was Sunday because I was alone with my thoughts in bed at night and I got sad.
Ugh, the worst place to be.
It's terrible.
Why did you go there?
The melatonin gummies didn't do their job and I was still awake at like scary hour. So yeah, Sunday.
That's frightening. The only thing more frightening than that is then overcompensating with the melatonin gummies to make up for scary hour and the morning after trying to fight.
Oh, you feel like you are hungover from melatonin gummies. I'm like, how can you overdose on melatonin?
And I'm like, just because I couldn't lay in silence for 5 minutes?
Just because I couldn't turn my brain off.
That's fine. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, second question. When was the last time you remember doing something that you felt just an immense amount of pride in yourself?
Ooh, that's a really good one. Honestly, I would say the last 3 months of like preparing for our season. It really, through it all, like you just get in like grind mode. And I think once we all got to the racetrack, okay, maybe not the last 3 months, it would be probably when we got to the racetrack, but a product of the last 3 months. Like we're standing there about to go green and I'm just kind of looking around and I'm like, okay, like everything that we just did over the off season and everything that had me sobbing and crying in the bathroom at work and ready to just quit, not really, but like just standing there looking around and being like, I freaking pulled this off. Like I did. So March 1st at New River All-American Speedway was the last time I felt immense pride in myself.
As you should. I have to imagine watching them take that green flag was like,
I'm just like,
hell yeah. Hell yeah, I did this.
Awesome. It's over.
Yeah. The checkered flag was the only one that was better than that, was ending the night. Yeah.
That and closing the door of the trailer. And now I'm like, well, but we got 14 more, so maybe we shouldn't start breathing easy yet.
And then you got to hit Cookout.
And then I did. Oh, yeah. My aunt had never been to Cookout, so had to take her to Cookout.
Oh.
She's from California, but she's lived here like all her life. And she's like, I've never went to Cookout. I'm like, we're going to Cookout.
Yeah, that's a must. Yeah.
It's the only thing open by the time we get done anyway, so it just really works out that it's a partner. And
it was actually funny. I hit that Cookout. I didn't stay for the...
I never got to see you.
I know. I didn't even see you. I was in the truck most of the time.
Ah, fair.
Yeah, but I left after the car show races and the local divisions came back out.
Oh, you didn't want to stay till midnight to watch the Bombers?
I watched the juice.
Two of them.
Boxes. Yeah, that was when I thought, okay, you know what? I might head out. Yeah. It was
interesting choice.
Yeah. But no, I hit that Cookout. It was just 3 hours before you guys. Sorry.
Should have dropped some off on your way back by.
No joke. No freaking joke. I was like, this is a heck of a night. Quite the night. Okay, final question. What is one piece of media? It could be like a podcast, a show, a website, movie, song, anything that you would recommend to our viewers and listeners to check out.
This is just because it's fresh on the top of my head, but I watched that new, this is like dumb too, but I watched that new show on Netflix, Running Point.
It's not dumb at all. I just started
Hudson. Incredible.
So good.
Freaking incredible. It's funny, but then like also too, I don't know if you felt this way, but like I think I enjoyed it because I could kind of like relate with it in a way too of like being a woman stepping into this whole like man's thing and all the doubt and all that. Like it was funny and lighthearted and easy to watch, but then at the same time was like super relatable. And now I'm like, I want to be the CEO of something.
Yeah, you could be and will be. You're on your way, very much so. That's a great suggestion, though. It's so true. I just started that show, and even to your point too, it's a family business. Mm-hmm. Like, and she's trying to figure out where her role is in this family business,
the sports thing, yeah. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, she can't do it. She's a girl, whatever. She doesn't know anything about it. And it's like in reality, she was the one behind the curtain the whole time that knew the most. Mm-hmm. So
she just needed a chance.
Yeah. I think it's great.
They've already been renewed for season 2 as well.
Okay, they better because the ending irritated me.
Okay, wait.
But you haven't gotten there, so I won't talk about it.
I was gonna say I haven't.
But the
caught up.
ending gave there has to be a season 2. Like there
Okay.
was no way they could have left off with it.
I feel good then knowing that I already know that, because I would have been so pissed if I got to the end of that
I
season.
was.
And
Thank you for telling me
yeah.
right now, because as of last night, I was pissed. I was like, are we kidding? Can we stop doing this where we roll out a new show and it's got 7 episodes and then it's over?
And you get me excited about it, and then you just rip it away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need more.
I agree.
So, okay,
well, we got
good
more.
to know. Good to know.
Great suggestion. I second that suggestion. Karsyn, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, check out Rare Breeds coming sometime this summer.
2025.
Yep. And obviously Cars Tour. I mean, what the heck are you doing if
Yeah.
you're not watching Cars Tour? Like, please.
If you're not watching the Cars Tour, then where are you at?
What are you watching? Okay, let's be real. If you didn't already want to be Carson's friend just by seeing her on the internet, do you not want to be her best friend now? She's the coolest person, and she's just so kind. I'm really, really excited to see what she does in the future, both with the Cars Tour and then just, you know, with her podcasts. And I don't know. I just really appreciated that conversation. And yeah, I mean, if you're not watching Cars Tour, what the heck are you doing? Watching Modifieds, hopefully, right? Yeah, you're watching Modified. Speaking of, mods are back in action this weekend at Thompson. I am so stoked I will be there. So hopefully you'll be there too for Icebreaker weekend. And if you are, be sure to say hey. All right, that's all I got for y'all this week. As always, be sure you're following us on Instagram at Rollin.punches. I forgot to mention that we have the punchline. If you know, you know. It's a call-in line. You can call, you can ask a question, you can do whatever you want. Just keep it appropriate. We're all adults here, okay? All the info for the... Goodness. One more time. Remix. All the info for that is in the... We're gonna just... This is going really well. All the info for that is in the link in the bio of the Instagram. So... if you're going to go all the way over there, then just go ahead and give us a follow. Be sure to give us 5 stars and subscribe to the YouTube, all the wonderful things that you do when you have a favorite podcast, and show us some love. I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. Mom, I love you so much. Thank you for listening. And in the wise words of my mother, to send you off into this glorious weekend, don't be a dumbass. Okay? Bye.